I could feel my soul passing out, and I knew that I'm dying. And even in the dream, my mind was telling me two things: either you are going to go into nothingness, or you are going to go into the next life.
But while the whole world talks about good and bad, dualities, here we don't have a duality. Here we have a triarchy where you kind of do need a sense of humility in yourself to know that as a human being, there are unknown unknowns. You don't even know what you don't know.
What you don't know. So my dadi is very, you can say, superstitious because she's from that older generation. When I started writing these stories and I told her, look, this is a story you told me when I was a kid, something, and she was like, no, Hari, don't write all these things. Because when you write about a yakshi, you will actually secretly invoke her and she will cling on to you. So again, it's a concept. We're all misappropriating a lot of things. So Chudail, Yakshi. So Yakshinis become Yakshis, which are equivalent of Chudails. And Chudail, how do we use a Chudail? Like a gali, like a cuss word. If you have someone, a relative whom you don't like, if she's a woman, the mother-in-law will call her a Chudail, and vice versa.
Everybody loves a fantastic horror-themed episode of the Ranveer show. That's what we have for you today. Horror episodes of TRS are often highly requested, highly discussed by the audience because they are mind-bending. K. Kumar is a horror author. He's also an established writer. In this episode, I've tried to extract all the paranormal experiences from his life. What led him to becoming a horror writer? I feel anyone who creates horror content has had a past in either thinking about or dealing with the paranormal in some capacity. We brought up Kantara, we brought up possession, we brought up ghosts on this particular episode. And if you're someone who enjoys these horror episodes of TRS, make sure you follow the Ranveer show on Spotify. We're Spotify exclusive. Every episode of the Ranveer show is available 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. Before I let you slip into this episode, as with any of our paranormal themed episodes, I want to mention that my intention is not to add darkness to your life or add negativity to your life, but my intention is to spread knowledge about these concepts so that we can move towards the light. Learn more about the darkness so you can move towards the light. Whenever we've had a discussion about the paranormal, the guest has always spoken about how meditation, prayer, faith, these are elements that help counter the effects of the paranormal. I don't know how true that is, but what I do know is that meditation has helped me in countless tangible and intangible ways. Everything that I know about meditation now exists in our health app, Level Supermind. So whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced level practitioner of meditation, I promise you will enjoy Level. Give it a try. Download it. You'll earn yourself a 1-week free trial if you download it from the link given down below. And for now, I will let you slip into this paranormal special of the Ranveer show. Hey Hari Kumar, welcome to the special horror episode of the Ranveer show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
How did you choose to become a horror screenwriter? You would have had some experiences that led you there because this is not an everyday job.
I never thought I'll be a horror writer. Okay. So the first book happened because of something that I saw in my dream, blended with my own personal experience, and then whatever I could imagine and, make it and all those things. The book was a hit. But again, I hadn't completely ventured into horror. There was a horror element, right? And that itself was kind of inspired from something which happened to me when I was a child. A couple of things that have happened to me which are very weird. Again, I'm not taking that guarantee ki this is horror or this is a ghost or a spirit. But then those who want to believe, they can believe it because it's kind of creepy. So one of the experience that I'll tell you, I was, I think, 5 or 6 or something. I was in Kerala at that time. So until the age of 6, I was in Kerala. And from after 6, my dad got transferred to Delhi, Gurgaon, and then that's where I was brought up. So I was 5 or 6 or something, and we lived in this small village kind of a place near the sea in Kannur, I think. Yeah, Kannur. So Kannur is very famous for all these legends and the Theyyams and all those things.
Like what they've shown in Kantara?
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Okay.
I'd really like to talk about the bhutas and all those things because bhutas are not to be considered as ghosts.
Okay.
And that's something I'd like to clarify. So in Kannur, it's very popular to see all these scary dance forms and storytelling forms. These are basically storytelling traditions. They're not dances, they are storytelling traditions. So I think one day my dad used to take me on his scooter to the milkman to get the milk at very early in the morning, around 5 or 5:30 or something. Every morning that was our routine. So one day he took me to there was this under construction building that was there at that time, and he had to he left me there for 5 minutes. He said, I'll come. I don't know where he went. Maybe he went for a smoke or something. I was standing there, and then there was this primitive lift, that you use in these under construction buildings. I stood there. There was this guy who was calling me. He said, I'll show you the top of the view from the top and all. I went there. I was a kid. I went with the guy and he took me up. He showed me the view from that place. It was spectacular. Early morning sunrise and everything I saw. Then I came down. And then by the time I was down, my dad came and he didn't even realize that, I had gone. Then I told him that I met this uncle. He took me up and showed me the sunrise. It was very beautiful. Which uncle? What uncle? The uncle who operates the lift. And then he got scared. Naturally, for a parent, it's your child is going with a stranger. He inquired from the nearby people, from the panwala and the milkman and all those things. They said, yeah, there used to be this guy who used to operate he wasn't an operator of lifts. He was a worker or something. He had fallen from the lift and died. So, I mean, they still believe that I never went up because a child cannot operate that.
But did you feel creepy at all?
No.
Just normal?
Normal. But the thing is, I usually don't go near strangers. But that day, there was no candy, there was no firki in the hand or anything. I just went.
What's your dad said about it?
He still thinks I never went anywhere. I was feeling sleepy. I must have dozed off and cooked up the entire thing. Maybe I dreamt of it. Again, that's what I said. Throughout my life, dreams have been have had a big role to play in my life. That's what I like to believe now as a grown-up, as someone who would like to have a rational look at things. But again, as a child, you're still adamant, no, I saw the uncle. Yeah. So that was one incident. And
why do you think as a grown-up, we should always have a rational view of things?
Because that helps you move on in life.
But don't you think it also limits your entire perception of what reality could be?
Reality is not what we perceive. It's what we believe. So there's this famous saying, Tattvamasi. If you go to Shabarimala in Kerala, it's written there, Tattvamasi. You become that. So this is my belief.
Okay.
At the time of death, whatever you are believing in, you become that. It's open to interpretation. Somebody else can interpret something else, but this is what I believe. So this again came to me through a dream. I don't know. I was having a very bad dream once. This dream was about being chased by some weird creature, one big horn. It was not a rhinoceros. It had elephant-like ears, but again, it was not a rhinoceros. It had thorns all over its body. It was chasing me through a narrow lane. It was not even a lane. Both sides there was water. And inside the water, there was like these black serpents. And I was just running. And these black serpents were reminiscent of the Vikram Vedal stories in Chandamama. That was a magazine that my mother used to read me from as a kid because I couldn't read till the age of 8. So those pictures were very vivid. And I was running. And this dream happened some 4 or 5 years back. And eventually, I came to a point where this thing stabs me with its horn. And I could literally feel it. I could feel my heart, heartbeat going up. It was like you are in the dream and that's the reality, right? And then the moment it pierced through my bones, I could feel my soul passing out. And I knew that, I'm dying. And I was afraid what's going to happen next. And even in the dream, my mind was telling me 2 things. Either you are going to go into, nothingness, or you are going to go into the next life. And you won't believe what happened next. I opened my eyes. So from that day onwards, I've started believing in the possibility that we are perhaps living in a dream, and at the time of death or after death, you're going to wake up in another life because you're part of somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
Which is a possibility. It could be, because that is what happened in that dream. And since then, I've been because that dream was so convincingly realistic for me that I have started believing that this is very much a possibility. The moment this life ends, you're going to wake up in another shell or another person or another jiva.
Or your real form.
A real form, but what after that? What about the form beyond that form? Because that form is also going to wake up someday, right? Or die someday.
How old are you, bro?
I'm 32.
Okay.
Plus 1.
Okay. We're almost the same age. 93 born.
Okay.
So,
89.
I feel our whole bracket of human beings, and a lot of them are listeners of this show,
Right.
are trying to figure these same questions, because they say that once you get out of your 20s or once you're about to exit your 20s, you become much more existential because your quarter life crisis has hit
Exactly,
you,
yeah.
etc. And everyone by default turns to either spirituality and spiritual thought, which encapsulates all these Eckhart Tolle books, all these Western philosophers, as well as Indian philosophers. Or you turn to religion, your own religion. If you're Muslim, you turn to Islam. Christians turn to Christianity. Hindus turn to Hinduism, etc., etc. Through this show, I've tried figuring the same existential questions, often by asking the dark stuff. Okay? We had a tantric recently on the show, and he was very eloquent. His name was Rajarshi Nandi. I asked him all sorts of questions, and I've asked these same questions to countless people before him. And everyone's given their versions of their answers. This guy gave very sharp, precise answers. Like, I felt like it was the first time I was talking to someone who truly knew the dark arts. Okay, and he knew it with so much detail and width that I actually would like to believe the kind of things he said. So again, he said that the goal of life is, I mean, I'm comparing it to a video game, but you know, in video games, how you collect coins? In the same way, you're supposed to collect like good karma. Okay? Now, good karma definitely happens when you are kind, when you're a pure person, when you're honest. There are quicker ways to collect good karma. And those quicker ways are all these spiritual practices, which in Islam is deeper namaz, in Christianity would be deeper prayers. And in Hinduism, it's deeper meditations, deeper sadhanas, as they call it, which are disciplines. And if you collect a lot of it, you progress down that karmic path, or I'd rather say up that karmic path, up to a certain point where you cross a threshold, and after that threshold is where you've kind of got nirvana or moksha, or in tantra they say the deity comes and joins you entirely.
Yeah.
Now Hinduism is all about climbing up that ladder. All forms of Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, even Sikhism, I feel are about climbing up that ladder. Any Indian religion. Hinduism parallelly also says that you can choose your method to climb. So you can like walk up the ladder, you can run up the ladder, or you can sprint up the ladder. And the sprinting happens through things like tantra. You know, these practices, these theories, these disciplines, these kind of meditations are much quicker. So it kind of just shed light on this whole concept of birth and death for me. Now, apparently, I'm 29. Definitely, my material life is building itself up. I'm also a creative professional just like you. And I strongly believe that creativity is never your own. It's given to you. And you pull it out of like a higher realm.
Right.
Do you believe that?
Brings the thought of muses in my head.
Okay.
Muses, they keep, working all around.
Right.
You can see it. You can see them. You cannot see them. But they keep throwing these ideas,
Yeah.
And if you're able to grasp it, and even if you're able to grasp it, if you're able to produce or procreate whatever that you're doing through your art form, then you're using it.
Yeah, I believe some creativity is your own, in terms of when you're throwing it out in the world, but when you're in a state of flow and you're writing something and you don't know how these words and thoughts are coming out of you, that's not your own.
Again, whatever you write, whatever you create, it comes from some kind of an influence of what you have seen, what you have learned in your life, what you have picked up from your experience, from the knowledge you have. It's very difficult to create unless you don't know about it, what you're creating. So if somebody is doing something out of the box and you are saying it's original, then that's really magical, because there is nothing that's original, at least not in the time that we are existing.
You mean
Because-
Kali Yuga?
Not Kali Yuga, as in so many things have been done. It's
Okay.
like
Got
art
it.
forms. If I am talking about horror, the ghost stories, that's what I'm talking about. If it's the horror films, it will have some kind of, it's all creation, it's all art. It's coming from somewhere. If it's coming from my mind, it's coming because of some personal experiences plus things that I've seen or read before.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to say. If somebody says, there is nothing original.
Yeah.
It's always going to be influenced.
Okay. You mentioned Kantara in our previous answer, and then you said you had a lot to say about that. And we had a guest yesterday as well, an archaeologist from Goa.
Okay.
And she says that even she's seen things like that in her village. And, it was a very deep experience that they've shown in the movie. And this is present all over the western coastal line, where deities possess people and then become messengers from higher realms.
So we have things like, in Kerala, we call them Velichapada. There is Velichapada. It's oracles.
Same logic.
Same logic. You've got Teyyams, you've got Bhutas. So Kantara, basically, it's based on Bhuta Kola. And the Bhuta is not ghosts. The moment I say Bhuta Kola somewhere, people suddenly relate it with ghosts. Oh, are these ghosts? Are these demons? No, they are not. So my ancestors, they come from this part of the country, the South Canara region, Udupi, Mangalore, this region, and this place is full of such bhutas, and people still worship these bhutas, just like people in Kerala worship serpents. Right? So bhutas are nothing but spirits. It could be spirits of heroes, of warriors. It could be an animal, like Panjurli Bhuta. Panjurli Bhuta is so in ancient times, in olden times, farmers used to, their crops were destroyed by boars, wild pigs. What do you call, you call them Varaha. That's the avatar of Vishnu. That's the wild boar with the horn and all. They would come and destroy these crops. And these poor farmers, they had no other option but to start praying to a deity, which is like a king of these boars. So that's how they started praying and giving, offering things and all those things to protect them from these boars, so that these boars won't come and destroy the crops. That's how this concept of Panjurli Bhuta was born. Again, this is something that somebody has said. We don't know how it originated. But Panjurli Bhuta is what you see in Kantara. And people there worship that. And the spirit is said to come inside the body of this medium. That person is a medium who's going to dance. The Kola is dance. Bhuta is the spirit. It's not a ghost. It's this forest spirit. It could be the spirit of a warrior. So there are other Bhutas. Like there's a Bhuta called Satya Bhuta. Satya Devata, not Satya Bhuta. And we as South Canara people, we kind of give a lot of respect. We won't even, I won't take the name of a Bhuta wearing a slipper. That's the kind of respect people from that region give. So there is Satya Devata. Satya Devata, it's like the name suggests, it's a god, it's a spirit of truth. But often people forget to worship these bhutas or deities. And Satya Devata, what Satya Devata does is, suddenly, out of the blue, when everything is happening, in the family, everything is all right, perfect, someone will lose some kind of an ornament. And you'll try to find it everywhere, you won't find it. And that moment, somebody will say, like a grandmother or, the older generation people, they would remind you, you forgot Satya Devata. Go and, light a lamp for Satya Devata, do a namaskara and come. And the moment you do it, you'll find the jewelry maybe in the pocket or beside the bedside. And people say, they claim that they had searched it there before worshipping, Satya Devata, but they couldn't find it. And suddenly it's there after just one simple namaskar, and it's there. So these are the beliefs that those people have. Those people means we also have that. I was brought up in the city away from all this. So for me, it's very difficult to take that leap of faith. But I still believe in all those things. I still get goosebumps when I listen to stories.
Because the city also has a way of like making us slightly more westernized almost.
Westernized, and see, the bhuta that I'm talking about, these happen in Hallis. Hallis is basically a hamlet. In Kannada, Halli is a hamlet, a small village. And like my wife's ancestral home is in a Halli. My wife comes from Tulunadu, Udupi. So we are from Kerala. I mean, my wife is from South Canara, proper South Canara. And her house is in the middle of a Halli. And that was my first experience of a typical Indian isolated ghostly kind of a place. Because Kerala, there are no villages. The concept of village is gone in Kerala. It's almost modernized. They're like little towns, right? Everybody is educated, life is fast moving and everything. But in Karnataka, in this particular Halli, life is very sluggish. It's very slow. People still believe in all those old rituals and myths and beliefs.
Have you ever seen a possession?
I've seen Bhutakola. I've seen these dances where they dance to, they get possessed and they start dancing, and then they tell future or they recollect things from the past. Like I remember there was some dispute that was happening, some property dispute, and and then there was this oracle was called in, and the oracle consumed some thing and then started doing all this vibrating and shivering, and then they started dancing, and suddenly there was this goddess inside that oracle, and he started saying, your dad was the one who stole that document, and he has kept it from this other son. So that is why he is not able to get the property. So you don't have the right on his property. And then they searched and they got that document. And his father had passed away long time ago.
You saw this with your own eyes?
Yeah, I was there.
How does it
I
feel?
didn't see whether they got the document or not, but I've seen this possession thing happening. And later on, then, they say, they told me that, this is what happened. Afterwards, they went home, they kept searching, and it took like 7 or 8 days, and they finally found the document or something like that.
Was there an energy around the oracle?
That's what we would like to believe. See, again, that comes from the concept that there is energy within us, which is what I said, that Atman, Jivatman, the prana. It's prana which goes inside the Jivatman. Jivatman is the Atma in layman's term, the soul. Prana is the breath which is keeping us alive. So that's energy. So there should be energy all around us which we cannot perceive right now. And that's where you go to the concept of pretas, you go towards bhutas. All those things we cannot perceive with our sense organs.
Yeah.
That's why you need an extrasensory perception or something like that to understand.
Yeah. How do you explain things like that? Where an oracle comes in, gets possessed, and then tells you the accurate truth, and the truth is validated by reality.
So, have you heard of Narendra Dabholkar?
No.
He was a rationalist who tried to disprove everything that was supernatural or paranormal, so, all these beliefs and myths. So he came up with the explanation that whatever is happening to that oracle or to these dance forms or whatever it is, or even a tantric, it's a dissociation.
As in those people have gone crazy.
Not crazy. See, crazy will be a very bad allegation. They're dissociated from their bodies, from their self, and they're taking up another personality. And so it could be the personality of a dadi who must have lived long time back. So they must have heard or seen them in their childhood, and now they are becoming that person based on what they know. It's all there in your head. It's in the deeper areas of your brains, and you are just becoming that, but you are not aware. So that's what he's a rationalist. So that's his explanation. And someone who believes in psychic mediums and tantra would claim that that person has been possessed by the ghost of the grandmother who died or whatever.
Or a deity.
And someone who's somewhere in between would like to believe, someone who's educated, like physics or engineering kind of a background, he would like to believe that it is energy. Because, when see, the body, if it's alive, it has an energy, right? And the moment you die, there's something that's leaving your body. So if it's energy, even this Atma, if it's an energy, it's out there And according to our traditions, for the next 12 days after death, that energy is around you as an Atma, as a Pret Atma.
Newton's third law. Sorry, Newton's
Thermodynamics.
Thermodynamics. I'm so sorry.
That's energy cannot be destroyed and all those things. See, again, that's what I said. Physics, engineering, we are educated that way. So we are kind of being rooted to think that way. So to prove this exists, all of us, or at least a branch of scientists, need to sit down with the tantrics and get proper devices and proper controlled experiments. But it's going to take a long time because our science is not that developed, our intellect is not that developed to prove its existence, at least not till now.
Yeah.
But if you still want to believe that something else can also exist, but it's not proved till now, then keep an open mind.
Yeah. A friend of mine brought up a very interesting ancient Indian concept, okay? So India and all its ancient religions talk about these three things. They talk about Gyat, which is the known knowns, Agyat, which is the known unknowns, and Aghe, which is the unknown unknowns.
Okay. And that's a new one.
Yeah. But while the whole world talks about good and bad, dualities, here we don't have a duality, here we have a triarchy. Where you kind of do need a sense of humility in yourself to know that as a human being, there are unknown unknowns. You don't even know what you don't know.
What you don't know.
And that thought of Aghe has been reinstated in my head through the podcast and through the people I meet. Because I get to meet special forces, armed forces personnel. I get to meet tantrics. I get to meet scientists. And the best minds, the ones that retain the most information, are always the same ones who are open. Because they've accumulated so much information that they've realized, oh, there must be stuff even beyond all this. Right. That's just the nature of information. It's often, people with not that much experience, not that much true knowledge, who immediately say, no, this doesn't exist. And unless there's evidence around it, I'm not going to believe it. Okay, don't believe in it, but you're also limiting your own possibility. And it is a sign of human arrogance. It's like saying that we are the only species in the entire universe.
We are the only planet in the entire universe.
The phase of content that I'm in right now, I'm very fascinated by horror. I'm very fascinated by darker stories. And I'm enjoying myself writing these. They're being received well by the audiences. But I definitely feel I'm attracting some negative energies into my life because of writing these things. Do you feel that as a creative professional, that when you write about horror, when you write about these things, you're actually pulling those things closer to you?
So I'll tell you something which my grandmother once told me. So my grandmother is, she's the first storyteller in my life. She is the one who inspired me to kind of, embrace horror. Because she used to tell me stories about yakshis and pishachas and dakinis and all those supernatural beings. As a kid, she was the one who used to tell me stories, and even till her death, which happened just 2 months ago, she used to tell me these stories, and she was an amazing storyteller. Okay. And when she realized that I'm writing horror, so like I said, my first book wasn't horror. It was the second book onwards which became horror. My grandmother started telling me, even in India's Most Haunted, the first story is a reinterpretation of a story that my dadi told me about a yakshi that lived in our village, or in that vicinity.
What is a yakshi?
Yakshi is a supernatural being. So yakshi is a corrupted form of yakshini. So yakshini, hakini, sakini, they're all forms of goddesses.
Like an evil goddess?
No. See, that's where our entire culture is being thrown into all these wrong... they're getting these wrong ideas. They're not evil forces.
They're fierce.
They are forces of the Devi. So if you're worshipping Devi, then it's a positive aspect. If you are afraid of the Devi, then they are all negative aspects. So see, this is something that a philosopher or a preacher would be able to tell you. But basically, they're like yogini, you've got dakini, sakini, hakini, and you've got yakshini. So yakshinis, they are celestial beings. They grant wishes. If you worship them, there are 36 types of yakshinis. They grant you all these wishes, and there are rajas, tamas, and sattvic yakshinis. So the different types of yakshinis, and for the kind of fulfillment you want, you approach that particular yakshini. So the corrupted form is a yakshi. So in Kerala, if you say yakshi, it's a very negative being.
Why corrupted and how corrupted?
Corrupted by popular culture from the past. Pop culture is not just what's happening now. In the 80s, the pop culture was something else. Right? So back in the time, like when women were exploited sexually, where women didn't have the power, where the society was driven by men, and women were shackled. The moment the husband passes away, the woman has no right over anything. She's thrown to in a corner of the house. During those times, when many women were exploited, and some of them were even killed when they threatened to tell the world what they've been through. So, in order to demonify such women or women who took the liberty to, open up, they were demonized as yakshis. They were killed. It's like witch hunt. It's like clipping the wings of someone who's trying to, come out. So a lot of women were wronged. Many women got pregnant, outside their marriage or, from somebody else. And then these women were killed. And it's that guilt, in that man, which took the form of a yakshi. This is what I believe. It's from a psychological point of view, it's a guilt of a man who wronged a woman or who killed a woman after cheating her or whatever exploitation he did. That guilt takes the form of a yakshi that's coming after him. Okay, this is what a rational explanation would be like. But at that time, it wasn't like this. They used to believe that, this woman has come back as a yakshi. In Hindi, a very simple analogy will be chudail.
Which?
Chudail.
Okay.
So again, it's a concept. We're all misappropriating a lot of things. So chudail, yakshi. So yakshinis become yakshis, which are equivalent of chudails. And chudail, how do we use a chudail? Like a gali, like a cuss word. If you have a relative whom you don't like, if she's a woman, the mother-in-law will call her a chudail, and vice versa. Right? So it's a demonification. It's a very wrong misappropriation. And yakshinis, who were supposed to be deities, they became yakshis. So these are women who, you ask for a lift on the empty, isolated highways, they prey on men because they need their virility, their blood to keep themselves young. So it's very equivalent of chudails. But actual yakshis, they are something else. So my dadi, coming back to the question that you asked, so my dadi is very, you can say superstitious because she's from that older generation. When I started writing these stories and I told her, look, this is a story you told me when I was a kid. This is now published. And a lot of people have loved the story. There's been some PhD research on Indian Gothic literature, and this particular story was taken up by these professors. And I showed all these things to her. This was last year or something. And she was like, no, Hari, don't write all these things. Because when you write about a yakshi, you will actually secretly invoke her and she will cling on to you.
Yeah. Goosebumps.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, dude, same.
And trust me, you feel that when you're writing about a yakshi, and right now I'm writing about a dakini. So, but I'm not writing wrong about her. That's the difference. Because when my dadi tells me a story of a yakshi, it's about a yakshi who's bad. Because it's coming from that male point of view. Anybody can disagree with me. I'm okay with that. Because this is what I strongly believe. It was a society where the narrative was male driven. So the yakshis, females, they were bad. In today's date, in my stories at least, I'm trying a different approach. I'm trying to write why they became a yakshi, why they became a dakini, what were the forces which drove them to that. So I believe that even if I'm writing about a yakshi and there's an energy of the yakshi around me, I don't think I'm
in danger.
Not in danger. I'm not irritating her, or I'm not making her angry, because I'm trying to write what might have been right. And I'm sure that most of the yakshis, if they exist, most of them were wronged by men or by the society at that time.
Mm.
And I strongly believe that, because even in today's date, there are villages, there are places in entire world, there are places where women are killed because they are suspected of being witches or dakinis or yakshis. It's happening even to this date, and you can even just make a Google search. You will find a lot of news reports
All over the world.
all over the world. Let's just confine ourselves to India. You will find plenty of news items, especially in these remote villages, because there is no education, and they don't want to let they're just oppressing a particular gender.
So anyway, what's the scariest experience of your life?
Okay, this might sound very funny. Again, there were some dreams involved in this. This is not a ghostly experience. That will come to later. Okay. This is an experience which kind of made me, shit my pants. Not literally, but...
It's okay, even if it's literal, dude.
But that is the only metaphor I could come up with right now. Even thinking about it makes me sweat. So, like I said, throughout my life, dreams have played a very important role. So, I kept getting these... so, when I was a child, I had once fallen into a small tank of water. So, that was a very... I don't remember exactly what happened. I was 3 or 4 years old. I just remember falling and, falling backwards. And then the smell that, when water touches your lungs, there's a smell that comes. I remember that. That's all. Okay. But I was saved. Nothing happened. And when I was working in Gurgaon as an engineer, IT professional, I had to take elevators. So elevators, I used to take elevators at that time. I had no issues with that. Then one fine day, I think, then I was working in Bombay as well. In Bombay also, I was taking elevators. No issues. Then suddenly one day, I started getting a weird dream where I'm stuck in an elevator and the lights have gone out, and I'm pressing these buttons, but the emergency bell won't go. The phone the intercom, that's not working, and I'm stuck there in that darkness. And that was a very scary dream, and that kept on happening for the next 3-4 months. I was ignoring it. Every day I was going to the office, I was using the lift, and then one fine day, that dream stopped coming. I was happy. Hello, everything is fine. Then I think this was during Diwali or something, Diwali of 2016. I had joined a new office, and that was in Chandivali. Okay. And there was this building called Boomerang Building. So I went to the office like a normal day. I went up, went down, no problem. One day I'd gone for a lunch break. So I didn't bring my lunch, so I'd gone outside to eat, and then I was coming back. I was alone in that elevator. I pressed this thing, and it started moving up, and suddenly there was a zoom. It stopped. And it stopped. The moment it stopped, I wasn't tense or anything. I was like, okay, it will start. It didn't start. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it didn't start. Now I was getting a little nervous. Then the light started flickering. So now it was kind of reminiscent of that dream which was recurring before that. Then I was like, okay. And then I pressed the emergency button. There was no sound, nothing.
You were alone in the lift.
I was alone in the lift. And then I took the intercom. That wasn't working. And I'm getting those... For 10 minutes, I didn't know what to do. The light went off. It was dark. I had a phone. Luckily, there was a point of network that kind of came in. I immediately called my manager and I told him, look, I'm stuck in a lift. He couldn't hear my voice. My voice was breaking because I was inside the elevator. But he got the message. I was even sending SOS messages. So he got the message and he contacted the security, and they were all working on that. And because it was a lunchtime and it was, I think, on a Saturday or something, there were not many people going up and down. So maybe that's why they didn't even take notice of this particular lift that was stuck. I was inside the lift for 20-25 minutes in that darkness. And trust me, it was worse than the climax of Interstellar, where we get stuck in that fifth dimension. And Since then, I picked up this very bad claustrophobia. And again, it was like those dreams were warning me, ki, don't go, don't go, don't go. But nothing was happening, but this finally happened. But since then, I've tried a lot of times to overcome that fear. And I tried once. I was here in Andheri. I had to go meet someone, a producer or someone, and his apartment was on the 15th floor. I didn't want to climb 15 floors at that time. This was 2 years back or something. This was after that incident, 2018 or something. So I asked one of the ADs to, come down. You come with me. Akele nahi jana. You come with me. He came. And we were going up. He said, what happened? No, I was once stuck in a lift, so I can't take this anymore. So he was there, and suddenly on the 13th floor, it stopped. 13th or 12th. I mean, for effect, you can put 13. Mm-hmm. But I was stuck there. But this was like for 4 or 5 minutes. But again, the same bad feeling started cropping, and I was literally shivering, and I was perspiring, I was palpitating, and this idiot who was with me, he was jumping in that. He was trying to open the door. And he did. He opened it.
Wow.
That's how he came out. After that, the next 2-3 times I visited that guy's office, I climbed the stairs.
You're molding reality, dude.
And that's what's happened. And every time, and even recently, this is as recent as 2021 February, we were in a hospital, and my wife had to, there was some complications there, so we had to go to the maternity ward. It was on the 8th floor. And since my wife was in a very bad condition, I decided to go with her so that she doesn't take stairs. Because otherwise, I always take stairs. Even in my apartment, which is on 7th floor, every day I take stairs. So here, so that she doesn't take any stress, I decided to go in the lift. That's the sacrifice you make for your loved ones. And she was in her own tension and stress. On 3rd floor, the lift stopped. and there was this nurse behind me. She said, "Phas gaye." And that's when I realized, oh God, I'm stuck. But luckily that lift opened in like 1 or 2 minutes, and I just ran out, and I never took the lift again. Every day I was going up and down on the staircase. Even now, today, here also I took the stairs. But that's something which has stayed on with me. This is not horror, but every time I decide to take a lift, that lift breaks down. Like in my apartment itself, every time, my wife or somebody, she counsels me and go. And okay, aaj main lunga lift. But then that day itself, somebody will go and get stuck in that lift.
One attracts what they fear.
Probably. Or maybe there are energies that you don't see, which are trying to warn you, don't go inside. Because that's also a possibility. Like you said, there are muses that throw art into your head, ideas into your head.
There are also muses that throw warnings.
And these could be pretas, these could be bhutas, these could be muses, or this could be just pure energy.
I'm curious to know why all these energies are drawn to you. I know that they're drawn to me now probably because I'm thinking so much about it and meeting such people, asking them for the sake of content. And it's a very conscious decision that I've stepped into. But what about you, dude? Since your childhood, you've been experiencing these things.
Okay, so here I'll bring in a little bit of astrology.
Sure.
Do you believe in astrology?
I am learning about it through the show.
Okay.
So I'm not a complete skeptic. And my core belief is that astrological charts are probably real, but they can be changed through meditation, prayer, willpower, these things.
But what do you say? So it's based on Kundali, right?
Yeah.
So Kundali is basically the time of birth, the latitude, longitude, right? So if a person is born somewhere, like where were you born?
Mumbai.
Exactly where? You remember the hospital's name?
Khar, yeah. Ganatra Hospital.
If another person was born on the exact same moment as you, would you have the same Kundalis?
No.
Would you have the same future?
No.
So that's where my mind kind of gets, okay, so is this even real? So again, I'm in that phase where I'm not embracing it, but I'm not giving up either. Okay, because I've had experiences which kind of question the whole, this is all BS. So I'll share that with you.
I think from what I understood from BK Shivani, who was on the show, he said that the astrological chart gives you sort of a roadmap based on your karmas till that point. But that till that point is just your birth. Right. Once you are born, you start accumulating new karmas, new samskaras, as she calls it, which is emotional tendencies which you get from family, from life experiences, etc. So your astrological chart actually molds itself through life based on your actions.
On what you, it's like a role-playing game.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning, this is the end. But the route you take depends on what you're going to choose. The milestones, like I said, this milestone from here, either you go there or you go there. So
all your actions.
It's all your action. That's karma. So this was 2017, the year when my parents were pressuring me to get married. And I wasn't kind of, I don't know, I mean, I'd gone to see a few girls and it was arranged marriage. And it was all looking okay, but something prevented me from taking the next step. So my parents were especially my mother, you know how moms are. My mother was very worried. Why is he like this? Why is he like this? So she went to an astrologer. And she met him. She was convinced that he's a good astrologer. In my village only. And I was working here in Bombay. And I was actually planning to quit my job because I got my first film at that time. Which was again a horror film. Okay. It's all interconnected. You'll see how. So I quit my job. And I was going to tell my mom that, hey, mom, I quit my job because I got a film. It's with a big director, which again was when I was a kid, I wanted to work with him. Okay, because that was the first movie I saw. It's his movie that I saw, which was again a supernatural movie.
Are you comfortable talking about?
Yeah.
Which movie and all?
It's Yodha.
Okay.
By Sangeet Shivan.
Okay.
So he's a Malayalam filmmaker. He's done Hindi films, Kya Cool Hai Hum and Apna Sapna Mani Mani. Those are the Hindi films he did. But the Malayalam film, which remains his masterpiece, it's Yodha. And as a kid, that was the first film my parents took me to watch. So I was 3 years old or something, 92, year before you were born. And I don't remember anything, but that was what my mother tells me, that this was the first film you saw in a theater. So, but then I watched the film later whenever it came on TV or something. But I always wanted this thing. I always felt close to him, but eventually I ended up working with him. I don't know how. Even he speaks about that. Hari, I don't know how this destiny is connected. There was no way that I would have worked with him, but it happened. Even my Hindi debut was with him, Bhram. That was also directed by him. So, anyway, coming back to this astrology thing. So, I had quit my job. I was coming back to Kerala and I was like, until then, wherever I went, I mean, for seeing the girls and all, for alliance and all, I was a corporate guy. I was working with the IT and this thing. Now I was in a different field. I took that detour from that normal, convenient life. This was a detour that I was taking, probably to fulfill that destiny. I don't know. A lot of uncertainties were there at that time. I went to Kerala and I was like, I told my mom, I quit my job. I got my first film. I'm working on the screenplay and I'll be in... And the place where the shooting was happening was called Haripad. So my mother was all freaked out. She was like, are you crazy? You've quit your job. Why would you do that? I mean, this, that. You could have continued writing, with the job. I said, no, I want to make films. I'm getting to work with my role model. This is a chance of my lifetime. And she was pretty worried. So that's how she went to this astrologer. So now there were two problems. You've quit your job and the marriage thing. So this astrologer, he said a lot of things and she was very convinced that he had this ability to tell or at least grab the truths. She called me and then I told her, don't tell him my real name, because if he makes a search, at that time I had only written 2 books. So even despite of that, if you make a search, you will get all the information, at least from social media. Right? I told her, don't tell him my name. I don't want him to know anything about me. Let him guess. I was a skeptic. I went there. He didn't know my name. He just had my kundali. And he started... so in Kerala, we have these shells, conch shells that you kind of put it on a small chart and, he meditated and then he started talking about me and he said, this is your path. Okay. And I had written only 2 books till then. First book was not a horror. Second book was horror. He said something. Your life will be revolving around ghosts, undead, the other realm. This is what he said.
Occult.
I mean, everything related to undead. Because that's your destiny. And then he started saying that your Pitrus, your ancestors, they were involved in, they're all Pandits. So some of them were Tantrics. So some of them were Mantravadis. None of them from Kerala. So those ancestors, which is my grandfather and all, they are from Kerala, and they were all like normal working people. But before that, in the 19th century, 18th century, that time, those ancestors, they were into all these worships and exorcisms and all this. So he started telling me all those things, that you will be an exorcist or something like that. I said, I can't be an exorcist. If not an exorcist, your profession will be related to something like that, maybe the ghosts or something. And then I told him, I wrote a book, first book, it had an element. Second book was a horror book. The first film that came to me, it was not my story, it was somebody else's story. The director wanted me to develop the screenplay. Apparently it happened to be, or coincidentally it happened to be a horror story. And there was another one which was coming to me, which was also a horror film. So then I started feeling there is some kind of a truth in what he's saying. And then I started opening up. And he said something, whatever you do, no matter what you write or what you make as a filmmaker, it will always be about ghosts. And you won't believe whatever I've done till now, it has been about ghosts. It's not like an algorithm which is working somewhere, right? See, if you're searching about ghosts,
or is it?
Again, if there's an algorithm, it's outside our sensory perception, which again brings me to that simulation theory, that we are all living in a simulation, right? Which is kind of connecting people, like the director and me. There was no connection at all, but we are connected. And then there were a lot of unimaginable things which he told me, like my ancestors, like my great-great-grandfather, he used to worship in a temple in Karnataka, in South Canada. And he once got so angry and upset that he threw something in, some deity or something in a pond behind the temple. So you must go and worship in that temple and ask for forgiveness. Then because it's believed that the last 4 generations, the Pitrus, they can still haunt you while you are alive. So once you are dead, it will be you, then the previous generations.
Your dad, your granddad, your great-granddad.
Correct.
Or mom.
Usually believe it in a patriarchal this thing, but Matrus are also there.
So when you say Pitru Dosh, it's patriarchal?
It's patriarchal.
Wow. Okay.
But again, I'm not the expert here. It's better to consult someone who knows it better. This is my understanding. So whatever I'm saying, it's my understanding. I still have got a lot to understand. So he told me all these things. So your great-great-grandfather did something. You have to go back. I started doing a research. We don't use surnames in Kerala, right? It's K. Hari Kumar. We use our father's initials, so that this caste system is out of question, right? But then the patriarchy is there because K is my father's name. Anyway, I found out that my family name, so we come from a community of Shivalli Brahmins. Shivalli Brahmins were Brahmins who migrated from northern India to Karnataka like thousands of years ago. So it was a family of 500 people who resided there, and each family had a house, and this house name is associated and it's carried on from there. So I tried to ask my uncles and uncles' grandfathers, whoever was alive and very old enough to know all these details. So they told me that your name is Sittilaya. Sittilaya means niche ke ghar wala. So it's like hill ke niche agar koi ghar hai to Sittilaya. Okay, fine, I'll look for Sittilayas. I started Googling around everywhere and finally found one guy on Facebook with the last name Sittilaya. And I tried contacting him and everything. And he looked very much like one of my chachas. So there was some genetic connection for sure. And then again, I started asking. Finally found out that there was a temple in Surathkal. Surathkal is in between Mangalore and Udupi. And it's a Shiva temple. And this is exactly what that astrologer told me. He didn't say Shiva temple or something. He said there's a temple on the top of a hill, and behind that temple, there's a pond where this idol could be lying. So you just have to ask for forgiveness. And after finding out everything, I went there. So there was this Shiva temple on top of a hill. And Shiva is not the deity that we were worshipping. We were Vaishnavites. So it was very strange. But then again, I went there, I went inside. And the Pandit was doing some mantras and all. So I couldn't talk to him. But I just worshipped and then went to the backside. Because I wanted to see if there's a pond. And when I looked on the backside, there was nothing. There was just a field and just one small tank kind of a structure where, people are taking water and all. But this was all, there's nothing here. There's no pond. So then I came back. Then by that time, the priest was free. So my parents were also there. My father started talking to the priest. And it turned out that he was related to my father.
The priest.
The priest. His father's father was my grandfather's cousin's cousin or something like that. So there was a
Patriarchal
connection. And here we started asking, and so he had heard the story that my great grandfather used to be a priest there, and he had some anger issues and all those things. And one day he got so angry that he threw some keys or something. We don't know whether it's in pond or anything, but he threw the keys and he left that place, and then he left for Kerala. Then after that, nobody heard from him for a long time. This was validated. This much. Now came the question of the pond. Where is the pond? So the pond used to be there, but then we covered up. Now there's a small tank out there instead of the pond. So now, again, it could be coincidence. How can an astrologer sitting there talk about this? Maybe he has heard about this story from his ancestors. Back in the day, the communities were very small. Maybe he must have heard it from his grandfather that there is a guy who migrated from Surathkal to here and he's settled here. Maybe that's how he got the story, and because he made some connection that, I'm also from that place. So it could be the same lineage. So that could be the rational explanation. But otherwise, it's very, very coincident. And I prayed there. And this astrologer also told me one more thing, that the question my mother was asking was, why is he not getting married? Okay, and he has quit his job. Iski to mati bhrasht ho gayi hai. That kind of a mood. That was the mood she was in. And he said, no, you go there, you worship there, everything will be fine, and you will find he'll find his wife in that stretch of land. And my wife is literally 15 kilometers from, her ancestral place. The house that I told you earlier about, that house is like 15, 16 kilometers from there. And there was no way that we were going to marry someone from Karnataka. We were all looking for girls from Kerala. And that happened through Shadi.com, branding here. But algorithms, I don't know.
Yeah, Anupam Mittal, yeah.
So a lot of things are there which cannot be explained.
Like all these things about your family lineage and, your charts, etc. It's pointing in a direction.
It is, and I really want to learn about that. I have relatives who are into exorcism and all those things. Not exorcism, but at least in
Tantra.
That tantra and all. But again, your daily life, where you're fighting to earn your living, it doesn't permit you to go into that particular line. Yeah. But if I get a chance, I would definitely want to know.
You should watch our podcast with Rajeshi Nandi. And I'm not just trying to brand TRS.
No, I will.
I am, but I'm also just reeling. If I met you at a party, I would tell you the same thing.
Right.
Because I think I had a lot of questions in my head when I began the podcast. And only he sorted it after 400 episodes.
Oh, right.
So he answered so many of my questions, and only 1 out of 5 episodes is released. Every episode gets progressively heavier and darker. But it also answered a lot of my questions, and it made me think that, there is this other whole path of Indian culture, which is very technical. You can't go down that path yourself. You need a guru. And the one thing I've learned about gurus through spirituality is that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So you don't even go out looking for it. But if you have that will in your heart for a guru, someone will come your way who can be a potential guru.
Right. So that's exactly what, in every field, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Whether it's spirituality, whether it's creative profession, few are destined. If you're ready. See, anybody can be destined for greatness or for the opposite side. But unless and until that person is not ready for that, that milestone won't be crossed. So I think that milestone, you need to reach that milestone where you are ready, and then you have to take that step forward.
Yeah, very curious to read your books, considering the fact that you also believe in this theory that all creativity is not just your own. So these look great. Definitely gonna check these out, dude. I don't know what you've written in it. And before the start of this episode, you said that you're kind of a skeptic, or you try being a skeptic.
I try to be realistic, at least right now. When I have answers, I'd be open about it.
Okay.
Because see, at the end of the day, we are living in a world where there are a lot different kinds of people, and sometimes what we say can hurt somebody else, and sometimes what we believe and we try to force that belief into somebody else, it kind of creates a resistance. So it's better to avoid that and seek your path. When you get that path, then I'm telling you what, you won't even need all these things. You'll be happy.
Yeah.
Because you have got it, what you wanted.
Yeah.
And these books, especially Dakma and the other two books, which I don't have right now, those were products of dreams.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was dream that I saw, and then I was writing. Then it was trying to, it was kind of lucid dreaming. When you are trying to when you're preparing, for a dream in your sleep, and then you try to live out that experience. So that's how the ideas for the stories came. And then there's newspaper cuttings, incidents that have happened in real life. Like the next book that I'm writing, the fiction one, it's based on something that I read in Northeast India, where, even today people are, women especially, are met with cruelty because of superstitions. So those news articles kind of inspired me. And then one night I had a dream, and I had this weird visual of a deity. I don't know if it's a deity, I don't know what it was, but then I chose to call her a Dakini. I may be wrong, but then I started researching, and even now I'm reading about it, and eventually, hopefully, it comes out as a good book.
Yeah. These are your blessings, brother. We're moving into the age of dark content, and people like you are going to be found out by the public. That's what I'll say.
Let's hope so.
Good luck with everything, Mr.
Thank
K.
you so
Hari
much.
Kumar.
Thank
Pleasure
you so much,
talking to you,
thanks
brother.
for having me here. It was an honor.
Yeah, no honor speaking to you, getting to know your story, dude. You don't have a dark aura for sure. Like,
Thank you.
You're a chill engineering grad, just
Yeah.
like myself. But just like you, I'm also going to dive a lot deeper into
Please do.
darkness.
Yes, and there are pictures from my wife's Halli as well.
Beautiful. We will be putting this up on the podcast. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
That was the episode for today. Absolutely love creating these horror themed episodes. Not much to say about this particular one. Just enjoyed my conversation with K. Hari Kumar. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I'd like to know from you guys who else you'd like to see on these horror specials of the Ranveer show. Please give us recommendations. I love conversations like this. All of us love conversations like this. The kind of conversations you have at night around a bonfire, but instead in the form of a podcast with slightly edited in effects. I think it adds to the whole experience of listening to such podcasts, and I know you enjoy it as well. Remember, check out our meditation app, Level Supermind. The link is given down below. And for more episodes just like this, make sure you follow the Ranveer Show on Spotify. Every episode's available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. We'll be back with some horror on the Ranveer Show very soon.